Good evening. Thanks for joining us on India Business Hour. I'm Shireen Bhan. The headlines that we're tracking for you tonight. Dalal Street hits the highest level in 10 months. The Sensex reclaims 61,000. The Nifty gains 130 points despite a decline across bank stocks. Morgan Stanley's new report says India will become the world's third largest economy in the stock market before the end of the decade. RBI begins testing the digital rupee. Sources say 9 banks executed 48 trades worth 275 crore rupees to settle secondary market transactions in government securities. Auto companies report a mixed bag in October. Tata Motors, Ashok Leyland and Escorts witnessed strong growth. Bajaj Auto sees weakness in exports. Electric vehicle industry clocks 141% growth thanks to the festive season and a low base. Elon Musk fires the Twitter board, becomes the sole director days after buying the social media company. Later tweets that the arrangement will be temporary. Also proposes to charge a monthly subscription fee of $8. Says so in a Twitter exchange with author Stephen King. US President Joe Biden threatens to impose a windfall tax on oil companies if they don't reduce fuel prices. Back home, Petroleum Minister Hardeep Puri defends India's oil imports from Russia, saying there is no moral conflict and Russia's supply, which amounted to 0.2% of India's needs, has gone up, but that's not an issue. The death toll in the Morbi hanging bridge collapse climbs to 135. The police has arrested 9 people in connection with the collapse. Prime Minister Modi visits Morbi, meets the injured who are undergoing treatment at a hospital. The Supreme Court agrees to hear a plea seeking a judicial probe into the incident. I'm truly sorry, says the founder of EdTech company Byju's in a letter to employees after laying off 2,500 people. Adds there is a huge price to pay for walking on the path to profitability. The funding winter has led to a 61% drop in hiring by startups as per a new study. 15% companies are shifting to a partial gig workforce model, and payments to gig workers are up 153% amidst the slowdown in hiring permanent employees. Google pauses its payment policy for app developers after the Competition Commission orders. Developers can now use third-party billing systems for in-app purchases. Google says it is reviewing its legal options. Well, let's start with the day's market action. Dalal Street hitting the highest level in 10 months as bulls maintain their winning momentum. So we saw the Sensex gain nearly 400 points. The Nifty added 100 points today. All of this despite a decline across bank stocks, so looking strong for our markets. And Morgan Stanley has decided to bet big on India amidst the global uncertainty. It says offshoring, investment in manufacturing, the energy transition and advanced digital infrastructure should create an economic boom, making India the world's third largest economy as well as the third largest stock market before the end of the decade. Morgan Stanley also adds that 4 global trends of demographic, digitalization, decarbonization and deglobalization are favoring India at this point in time. Staying with digitalization, India's central bank digital currency has arrived. The pilot project covering 9 banks kicked off today. Sources say 48 trades worth 275 crore rupees were executed on day 1 to settle secondary market transactions in government securities. Lata standing by with more. Lata, day 1 of the pilot. Take us through how it went.
Yes, that's right. India's CBDC, central bank digital currency, has arrived. Today, 9 banks did 48 trades via CBDC only for buying and selling government bonds for a total value of 275 crores. That's the first Indian CBDC. This is a pilot, of course. The Reserve Bank has chosen 9 banks which form a closed user group and had to transact between themselves. These 9 banks were 3 PSU banks, that is SBI, BOB, Union. Private sector banks, large ones were HDFC Bank, ICICI Bank and Kotak, and the smaller ones were mid-cap banks were IDFC and Yes Bank, and there was one foreign bank, HSBC. Now, this is how the process unfolded. First, these 9 banks had to open a CBDC account in RBI. You know, RBI already has a rupee account of every bank and a GSEC account. Now they had to open a CBDC account. Then they had to send a request to RBI to transfer part of their rupees in the rupee account to the CBDC account. This was done actually with the help of NPCI, which has more experience in e-rupee. So RBI transfers that money. And then the banks have to send their orders to CCIL. At the moment, CCIL is the exchange, you know, in the non-CBDC, that is the exchange through which bond trades are done. So in the CBDC's screen, your RFQ, your request for a purchase or sale of a certain bond would appear. All the 9 banks could watch that screen and they could click on whatever they wanted to buy or sell. That's how the trade got done. And then you don't need a CCIL to transfer your money because both the buyer and the seller have a CBDC account. The monies get debited and credited to the buyer bilaterally. You don't have to go through an intermediary. Now, just to explain, this means the settlement is immediate. It is not T+1 as it is in the current legacy system.
See, I'm very pleased to share that HSBC is part of the pilot that the Reserve Bank of India is carrying out. In fact, transactions have started taking place already as we speak. As we speak, I know our team is undertaking the transactions that were listed in the announcement that was made yesterday.
Well, day one of India's pilot of the CBDC. Now, the price of commercial LPG cylinders has been cut by 115 rupees. The 19-kilogram cylinder is largely used by commercial eateries, restaurants. The cost of a cylinder in Delhi is more than 1,700 rupees. Government sources also telling CNBC-TV18 that the reports suggesting that there could be a 40 paise cut in petrol and diesel prices are not accurate. Staying with fuel, US President Joe Biden has threatened to pursue higher taxes on oil companies if they do not try to lower fuel prices, calling their profits a windfall or war. Biden has warned companies to cut retail fuel prices or they will be made to pay higher taxes on their excess profits. Higher fuel prices that the US president is concerned about has aided British energy major BP to post another bumper quarter. The oil and gas giant has raked in profits of $8.2 billion in Q3. That's much higher than the analyst estimates of $6 billion. That's BP for you. Union Petroleum Minister Hardeep Puri defended India's decision to import oil from Russia, reiterating India's position once again. Speaking to CNN, the minister said that there is no moral conflict in our purchase. He added that Europe buys in one afternoon what India buys in one quarter. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has said food security has become an issue due to shipping disruptions in the Black Sea on account of the Russia-Ukraine war. A few months ago, the UN had brokered a deal between Russia and Ukraine to allow the export of food grains, but that deal seems to have fallen apart. Speaking to the media, the Finance Minister said the G20 members will have to discuss the sanctions against Russia and the spillover impact that many developing economies and middle-income economies are having to deal with. Take a look.
Members will have to talk about it. Actions taken at the early stages of the Russia-Ukraine war, whether it is sanction on payment through the SWIFT or subsequently on the fuel trading. Yes, it has moved from one milepost to another. You hear less of some, you hear more of another. You also have probabilities of newer such things coming in. So these are spillovers of decisions. Those will have to be definitely discussed.
That's the Finance Minister. The new Vice Chairman of the Niti Aayog, Suman Berry, has proposed linking the price of oil with conflict and sanctions. Speaking to Abhimanyu Sharma, Berry said energy security is a big concern. Potential resources are available in countries like Iran and Venezuela. Take a look.
People are pulling money out of emerging markets and putting it into the US. So these are the consequences of fighting inflation. And, you know, inflation, if it's not in India's interest for inflation to return to the levels it used to be in the 1970s. So we must wish that the US and Europe succeed, but it will have effects on us. And, you know, I think we and other emerging markets need help in dealing with that. But I don't think that not fighting inflation is an option.
Now, at a time when sanctions have been imposed in wake of the Russia-Ukraine war and various other reasons, of course, we are past the COVID pandemic, but other reasons are still holding true in the market. How do you feel India and other nations are going to navigate the issue of energy security and other pending issues before G20?
So yes, you may want to link what is happening to the price of oil to this conflict or that sanction. The fact of the matter is that we have been here before. We've been at $20 before, and we know how to deal with it. Gas is a slightly different issue because it's less mobile in the world. And finally, we should remind ourselves that there are potential sources of oil available in, Iran, Venezuela, which could come into the global pool as well. So I'm not really sure that there's too much that G20 would do in this area.
The Vice Chairman of the Niti Aayog, Suman Berry there. India's auto companies reported a mixed bag for the month of October. Tata Motors, Ashok Leyland and Escorts have seen strong growth. Bajaj Auto has seen some weakness in the export markets, but domestic growth has been strong. The electric vehicle industry has clocked 141% growth thanks to the festive season and, of course, also on a low base. Parikshit Luthra standing by with the report card. Parikshit.
Well, definitely a mixed bag for the auto industry, and the global slowdown also weighing in on the auto sector. Let's look at Tata Motors. Year-on-year sales up 5.5%. Passenger vehicle sales up 33%. And passenger vehicle sales really stood out during this festive season for Maruti and also Mahindra. Mahindra, for that matter, saw a 45% increase in vehicle sales during the month of October. When it comes to commercial vehicles, Ashok Leyland sales up 34% year-on-year. Eicher Motors sales up 14.2%. On the tractor business, Escorts said that their total sales were up 7.2% year-on-year. Mahindra said that their tractor business saw their highest ever monthly volumes at somewhere around 50,539 units. Let's look at Hero MotoCorp when it comes to two-wheelers. We saw total sales down 17%. Their exports also down 42%. And this is in line with the slowdown that we've seen in several of the international markets. Bajaj Auto, total sales down 10%, exports down 31%. For TVS Motor Company, their total sales were up 2%, domestic business up 7%, but exports again down for TVS Motor Company at 17%. Strong EV numbers from TVS Motor Company, 8,103 electric vehicles in October 22 versus 395 EVs in October 21. A low base, but definitely a strong momentum for EVs in the industry. Now, if we look at the entire EV industry, 7,64,000 electric vehicles were sold. So that's 141% growth in electric vehicle sales. The two-wheeler EV industry grew 30% in October. Strong numbers coming in from TVS iQube, Ola Electric, Ather Energy, Okinawa, Hero, Ampere. All of them have significantly grown in the festive season. Let's see if this demand momentum continues for the EV sector.
All right. Thanks, Parikshit, for joining us. The CNBC-TV18 news break has been confirmed. Gross GST collections for the month of October stands at over 1.5 lakh crores, the second highest collection after April this year. GST collections have been above the 1.4 lakh crore mark for the past 8 months. Earnings, Sun Pharma performing better than expected in Q2 despite weakness from Taro. Revenue jumped 14% compared to the same quarter last fiscal. The stock touched a fresh 52-week high today. Nykaa's parent company FSN E-Commerce Ventures reporting a consolidated net profit of over 5 crores for Q2 of this fiscal. This is a 330% jump if compared to the same quarter last fiscal. Revenues coming in at 1,200 crore rupees. That's a 39% year-on-year increase. Aviation advisory firm Kappa India expects the Indian aviation industry to significantly increase losses to touch $2.5 billion, up from its earlier forecast of $1.4 to $1.7 billion. Danish Anand joins us now with the latest. Danish, what exactly is Kappa projecting?
Well, the Centre for Aviation, that is Kappa, has released the midterm outlook of the Indian aviation sector for FY 2023. And according to this outlook, the upcoming 12 months for the Indian aviation sector seems to be very tough on the backdrop of rising geopolitical tensions, high fuel prices, high interest rates, high inflation, and expected labor shortage in many parts of the world. Well, according to this report, the upcoming 12 months will see a lot of hardship for the Indian aviation sector, as it is also expected predicted that the Indian aviation sector could see losses up to $2.5 billion. Talking about the low-cost carriers first, the low-cost carriers can see losses up to $1 billion, and the full service providers, they can see losses up over $1.5 billion. Besides this, CAPA has also said that as far as the future fleet is concerned, due to the supply chain issues, there will be late deliveries of certain aircrafts, which might create more pressure on the balance sheets of the various airlines that operate in the country. But all in all, if we see, the upcoming 12 months for the Indian aviation sector seems to be very hard.
Danish, many thanks for joining us. The big international story that we continue to track: Elon Musk has defended the plan to charge verified Twitter users, and he even hinted at the possibility of charging $8 per month to blue-tick users. This move came after author Stephen King tweeted against being charged possibly $20 a month to maintain his verified status on Twitter. Responding to his tweet, Musk said Twitter cannot rely entirely on advertisers to pay bills. Speaking to CNBC's Andrew Ross Sorkin, Uber CEO Dara says that he would never underestimate Elon Musk and said if Elon were to get into the game, it would be a fun one.
But I would never, ever underestimate Elon. We have been in an unbelievably competitive market all over the world. And because of the power of the platform, because of the innovation on Uber, we have done more than fine. And if he gets into the game, it's going to be a fun game.
You're a Twitter user. I see you on Twitter.
Yeah,
Are you staying a Twitter user? I know there's a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely I am. Listen, let's see what happens. I don't want to prejudge anything.
That's Dara Khosrowshahi of Uber on Twitter. But here's more on Uber's earnings. Shares of the global ride aggregator surged in early trade after the company reported strong revenue in Q3. Revenue came in at $8.34 billion versus analyst expectations of $8.12 billion. Uber said it expects gross bookings to grow between 23% and 27% in the fourth quarter year-on-year on a constant currency basis. Less than a week after the Competition Commission of India imposed back-to-back fines on Google, the company has decided to pause its payment policy for all app developers in India. This will lead to developers using third-party billing systems for in-app purchases for now. Google has said that it will review its legal options. Baiju Ravindran, the founder of Byju's, has written a letter to employees after announcing that 2,500 of them will be laid off. The edtech company posted losses of over 4,500 crore rupees and, as part of a restructuring plan, has promised to turn a profit by March next year. Manat Chugh and Arundhati Ramanan tell you what Baiju said in his letter.
Nearly 3 weeks ago, EdTech unicorn Byju's announced plans to lay off 2,500 employees in a phased manner driven by their intent to achieve overall profitability by March next year. Now, the founder and CEO Baiju Ravindran has sought forgiveness of these 2,500 employees that make up around 5% of the company's 50,000-strong workforce. He says, and I quote, "I am truly sorry to those who will have to leave Byju's. You are not just a name to me. You are not a number. You are not just 5% of my company. You are 5% of me." He calls the move a huge price to pay for the path to profitability, and while he says that it breaks his heart, he tries to explain. Byju's rapid growth over the past 4 years has created some inefficiencies and redundancies within the organization, which they now seek to remove with this massive round of layoffs. The series of layoffs by Byju's has also drawn the attention of the government in Kerala. After the company ceased operations in Trivandrum recently, causing employees to resign, Kerala's Education and Labour Minister said that the government will conduct a serious probe into the matter. That's not all. In Bengaluru, employee unions have accused Byju's of forcing resignations and engaging in unfair labour practices. The company denies the allegations. But Baiju Ravindran promises to make amends. The layoffs come with an exit package, medical insurance for the family, fast-track full and final settlement, and a promise to prioritize bringing the fired employees back when the time is right. But as of now, he says, sometimes what Baiju wants is not what Byju's demands. In Mumbai with Manat Chugh, Arundhati Ramanan.
And there's more from the startup space. Startup hiring trends have seen a 61% drop since October 2021, as per a study by Razorpay and Xpayroll. While the dip in hiring was across seniority levels, CXO hiring dropped by a massive 93%. Amidst all of this, gig workers seem to be the preferred way to go for startups. Payment to gig workers has seen a growth of 153% since October of last year. We will head into a break, but when we return, the death toll in the Morbi hanging bridge collapse climbs to 135. A CNBC-TV18 investigation finds the company in charge of renovation has not reported any free cash flow over the last 5 years. That and more when we return. The death toll in the Morbi hanging bridge collapse has climbed to 135. A majority of those who lost their lives in this incident are women and children. Now, the bridge was reopened just last week after being shut for maintenance for 7 months. The Morbi civic body claims that no fitness certificate was issued before the century-old suspension bridge was reopened after a hiatus of 7 months. Further, they claim they were not aware that the bridge had been reopened. The FIR has named the agency responsible for maintaining the bridge and the management agency as the accused, but it does not name Oriva, the company in charge of maintenance and repair, or specific individuals. Prime Minister Modi visited the accident site in Morbi today. He also visited the civil hospital in Morbi, where the injured are undergoing treatment. CNBC-TV18 Santa Gura speaks to one of the survivors as she recounts the tragedy and how it happened.
On 30th of October, a suspension bridge located in Gujarat's Morbi area collapsed. The bridge, which was called Jhulta Pul, was made in British era and was always a tourist attraction. The bridge was closed 7 months ago for renovation, and the contract for the same was given to Ajanta Manufacturing Private Limited of Oreva Group. The bridge reopened on 26th of October, and on 30th of October, over 400 people gathered on the bridge and it collapsed. The tragedy has already claimed over 135 lives, and this is what happened on that fateful evening.
600-700 लोग थे झूलते पुल में, बहुत झूल रहा था और बीचों बीच गए और अचानक से पुल गिर ही गया। वो झूल गिरा ना, तो उससे सहारे मैं पकड़ के
रस्सी पकड़ के,
रस्सी नहीं थी, वो कुछ पुल का हिस्सा था, वो मैं पकड़ के 1.5 घंटे तक बीचों बीच पानी में रही। एक टिकट लगवाना था और एक एंट्री होते ही टिकट चेक करने वाला था, वही था, 2 लोग थे। वो दोनों लोगों में से किसी ने भी नहीं कहा कि पुल के अंदर इतने लोग जा सकते, इतने 1 घंटा 1.5 घंटा 15 मिनट ऐसे रह सकते, ऐसा कुछ नहीं कहा।
The local municipal corporation is claiming that it has no idea about the increased capacity of the bridge post the renovation. Now the cops are claiming that no one will be spared, but as of now, no one from the municipal corporation or the top level of the private firm is questioned. In Morbi, with camera person Balbir Singh, this is Santya for CNBC TV18.
And staying with this story, Ajanta Manufacturing, the company in charge of managing the bridge in Morbi, has not reported any cash flow since 2016, according to its financials available on Bloomberg. While 9 people have been arrested so far, the company's top brass has not even been summoned by the police for questioning yet. Kiran Khatri takes a deeper look at the company, which is at the center of this tragedy.
This is the official website of Oriva, the company that is under the scanner after a century-old bridge collapsed in Gujarat's Morbi. The company was in charge of maintenance and management of the bridge. As per the website, the Oriva Group is famous for making Ajanta wall clocks. It also offers CFL bulbs, lighting products, e-bikes, home appliances and other electrical products. The website has no information about its construction and infrastructure projects. However, that did not stop the Morbi civic body from awarding a 15-year contract to Ajanta Manufacturing, a part of the Oriva Group, in March to maintain and renovate the Morbi bridge. According to the contract that CNBC-TV18 has accessed, it was Ajanta Manufacturing's responsibility to incur the cost to repair the bridge and reopen it for public. Ajanta is also responsible for the operation of the bridge, staff appointments, sanitation and ticket booking till 2037. The contract also says that the Morbi municipality won't interfere during the tenure of this contract. As per reports, the Oriva Group incurred a cost of 2 crore rupees on the repair work. The bridge was reopened on the 26th of October after a period of 7 months. Jaisukh Patel, the group's managing director, made this claim.
Nothing will happen to this bridge for at least 8 to 10 years.
The bridge collapsed within 4 days.
The responsibility is as much of the private company, but more essentially of the municipal corporation, which gave away the contract and the conditions under which it gave, the lack of supervision, the lack of control, the lack of administrative management.
That the municipal body, that is the owner, must step forward and take responsibility. I find this is very strange that the owner says, oh, I didn't know the bridge was in operation. I mean, you can't be sleeping at the wheel.
Ajanta Manufacturing's financials show that the firm recorded a revenue of around 275 crore rupees in FY21 and nearly 270 crore rupees in the fiscal year preceding that. However, there has been no free cash flow since at least 2016. There is also no publicly disclosed information on its profits. That brings us to the question, why was a company with zero cash flows handed out a contract to maintain a bridge that is a prominent tourist spot for 15 years? And why was the contract to maintaining a suspension bridge given to a company that is specializing in watches, home appliances and electric vehicles? Oriva is yet to make a public statement on the incident so far. In Mumbai with Kiran Khatri, Arundhati Ramanan.
And those remain the unanswered questions. That's a wrap on this edition of India Business Hour. Before we go, Jamshed Irani, fondly known as the Steel Man of India, passed away late last night at the age of 86. Irani joined Tata Steel in 1968 and stayed at the company for the next 38 years. He took over as managing director in 1992 and played a critical role in the company's transformation. J.J. Irani survived by his wife Daisy Irani and 3 children. That's the end of the Steel Man of India's era.
Co-powered by Century